Ambassador Zexathara clicked her mandibles in frustration as she stared at the empty space where Earth's primary stargate had been just moments before. The massive ring of crystalline metal that had connected humanity's homeworld to the galactic network for nearly 2 centuries had simply vanished. Impossible, she hissed, her 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession. The humans lack the technology. They're barely a Class II civilization. Her aide, a nervous Kalthani named Respak, trembled as he consulted his datapad. "Ma'am, we're receiving similar reports from all 17 human colonies. Every stargate in their territory has been deactivated." The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3 millennia, their control maintained through the Stargate network they had inherited from an ancient civilization. These massive constructs allowed instantaneous travel between star systems, making interstellar governance possible. More importantly, they made rebellion impossible. No world could stand alone without access to trade, resources, and communication. Humans had been nothing more than a curiosity when first contact occurred 200 years ago. They possessed no psychic abilities like the Zephyrians, no natural armor like the Kraxer, no technological instincts like the Mekani. They were soft, short-lived, and utterly dependent on the Empire's infrastructure. Perfect subjects. That's why Zexthara couldn't comprehend what she was witnessing. "Get me a channel to the human representative," she commanded. Minutes passed before a hologram materialized, a middle-aged human woman with graying hair and tired eyes. Director Sarah Chen of the Terran Colonial Authority looked remarkably calm for someone whose entire civilization had just been cut off from the galaxy. "Director Chen," Zexthara began, her voice dripping with condescension, "there seems to be a malfunction with your stargates. Our technical teams will arrive shortly to—" "There's no malfunction, Ambassador." Chen's voice was steady, almost conversational. "We turned them off." The silence stretched for several heartbeats. When Zexthara spoke again, her tone carried a dangerous edge. "That's impossible. Your species lacks the technological capability to interfere with Stargate operations." Chen smiled, a peculiar human expression that somehow managed to be both warm and unsettling. "You're right, we couldn't figure out how to operate them, so we did something else instead." On Zexthara's command ship, proximity alarms began blaring. Through the viewport, she watched in horror as hundreds of human vessels emerged from behind Earth's moon. But these weren't the sleek, energy-based ships that filled Imperial fleets. These were crude-looking metal constructs, bristling with projectile weapons and radiating heat signatures that suggested chemical propulsion. "Primitive chemical rockets," Respak whispered. "How did they move so many ships without using the stargates?" The answer came from Chen, who had apparently heard the question through the open channel. "We built them in space, Ambassador. Over the past 50 years, we've been quietly establishing manufacturing stations in every system we inhabit. When you can't rely on instant travel, you learn to be self-sufficient." Zexthara's blood ran cold. The Empire's entire military doctrine depended on rapid deployment through stargates. Their ships were designed for overwhelming firepower, not extended campaigns. The idea of maintaining supply lines across interstellar distances was archaic, abandoned millennia ago. "Your ships are obsolete," Zexathara snarled. "Our energy weapons will cut through your hulls like—" The transmission cut out as something impacted her flagship. Emergency lighting bathed the bridge in red as her crew scrambled to understand what had happened. "Report," she demanded. "Kinetic projectile impact," her tactical officer announced. "Solid tungsten rod, approximately 2 meters long, traveling at 30% light speed. Shields held but barely." Zexthara stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The human ships were accelerating past them, apparently indifferent to the Imperial fleet's presence. As she watched, more ships appeared from behind asteroids, gas giants, and even from the dark side of uninhabited planets. They were everywhere. "How many ships do they have?" she whispered. Her intelligence officer's voice shook as he responded. "Initial estimates suggest thousands, ma'am. Possibly tens of thousands. All appear to be armed with kinetic weapons. And ma'am, they're not slowing down." The truth hit Zexathera like a physical blow. Humans hadn't been building just ships. They'd been building an entire parallel civilization. While the Empire had dismissed them as harmless primitives, they'd been preparing for exactly this moment. Chen's voice crackled through the communication system again. You see, Ambassador, we learned something important about ourselves during our first century under Imperial rule. We're very good at making the best of bad situations. On the tactical display, human ships were spreading throughout the system, taking positions around every major installation. More disturbing, similar formations were appearing on long-range sensors from other systems, human colonies that had supposedly been pacified decades ago. Your terms, Zexathera said quietly. Simple, Chen replied. Complete withdrawal from all human territories, recognition of human independence, and establishment of new trade agreements based on mutual respect rather than subjugation. The Empire will never— Ambassador, Chen interrupted. You're thinking like someone who can call for reinforcements. Look at your tactical display. Zexathera did, and her heart sank. Every stargate in human space was dark. The Empire's rapid response capabilities, their primary advantage, had been neutralized in a single coordinated action. How? She breathed. Chen's smile returned. You taught us that we had no special powers, no unique abilities. You were wrong about one thing, though. Humans are exceptionally good at learning from our mistakes. We spent 2 centuries watching how your stargates work, studying every technical manual we could access, mapping every connection in the network. But you lacked the technology to operate them, yes, but we figured out something else. Your Stargate network is incredibly sophisticated, but it has one critical vulnerability. It requires quantum coherence across multiple dimensions, and it turns out that's surprisingly easy to disrupt if you know where to apply pressure. Zexathera's aide was frantically consulting his instruments. Ma'am, she's right. They've destabilized the quantum matrix at 17 connection points simultaneously. The entire local network has collapsed. Don't worry, Chen continued conversationally. We can turn them back on just as easily. But first, we need to discuss your terms of surrender. As human ships moved into attack positions around her fleet, Zexathera realized that the Empire had made a fundamental error in judgment. They had assumed that power meant wielding advanced technology or possessing superior abilities. Humans had taught them a different lesson. Sometimes the greatest power lay not in what you could do, but in what you were willing to give up. The age of human independence had begun not with a demonstration of strength, but with an act of unprecedented sacrifice, cutting themselves off from the galaxy to prove they didn't need anyone's permission to be free. And somehow, that made them more dangerous than any weapon the Empire had ever faced.